So the career growth without the career break, and that's what the motto is for Coastal University, because we don't want you to stop doing what you're doing in order to earn a degree. Because you, as I said, you have a lot of responsibilities. You have to care for your family, you have to work and all that stuff that's going on. At the same time, you can't just take time off and go to university. So Florida Coastal University is providing you an opportunity to earn a degree without stopping anything that you're doing. And in fact, adding to your whole life, professional life. So what are we covering today? I like to talk about these few things, that the new reality of work, why online degrees have changed, quite a bit. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the Florida Coastal University and what we are doing that will become much more appealing to you. And then the programs and the outcomes, what you're going to basically sign up and learn. And then, of course, your path to into the how do you go about really in joining us, and then if you have any question that you might have. So in terms of the world of work has changed quite a bit. There is 85 million job displacement by automation by 2030. These are predictions, but we have noticed it quite a bit. In US, there's quite a bit of changes in terms of the way the work is done. And then there's 97 million new roles emerging that requires a higher order skills, something that you have to come back and show people that in fact you have learned something new and different. And then the US college enrollment for adults is almost reaching 40%, and I think it will be at 50 or 55% in another 3 years. The skill gap is widening, critical and system thinking. It's very important for us to have a critical and system thinking. And the reason is because there's a massive introduction of information, including AI, artificial intelligence and other forms. And in order for us to be able to use that information, we have to have a very good critical thinking and understanding of how this information can be utilized to advance your careers, and also corporations and companies that hire you or the places that you're going to work going to require that from you. Cross-cultural communication is becoming very important. One of the biggest things you learn with going back to university is how to lead. Some of us are born with the leadership skills, but some of the others can learn about how to lead. And that's becoming important because people are looking for people that can take charge, And then the data literacy and digital fluency, that's very important to understand how to use the data. How do you go about really using the data for your own benefit and also wherever you are working. And then outcome-based remote collaboration. It's very important these days for us to learn how to work over the internet around the world, because that's becoming part of the day-to-day life, and no longer you can just go to office, but sometimes you have to interact with people around the world like we are doing today. You are all in Nepal and I'm here in the United States, and here it is, we are having a community, it's conversing and discussing issues. And in terms of the why working professionally invest in graduate education, your career advancement is becoming important because that degree makes a difference. I got my doctoral degree almost 40 years ago, but it has helped me to be where I am today. So you can see that it makes a big difference in terms of career advancement. Sometimes, you might have to shift, maybe you've been in certain industry, but that industry is either going away or no longer is as viable, and you want to change jobs. So that gives you an opportunity of doing that. So with the degree, you can make your case. One of the things you're going to learn, again, in the context, for instance, in doctoral business administration, is entrepreneurship. How do you go about creating a business, managing a business? How do you finance it? How do you move it forward? And you already have a business that you're running, then you will learn new skills, how to advance that whole company and make it much more effective. Global mobility, you can, once you have a degree, you can move around the world and be able to go from one country to another and be able, again, with the education you have, and because now you have credentials, they will be considering an opportunity for you. There's potential for salary growth. If you're working somewhere and you get a higher degree, of course, it's a consideration of the company who has hired you, if they give you a salary increase. And more than anything else, I think it's the personal achievement. Let me give you an example between training and education. With training, somebody shows you how to punch computers, uh, buttons, So that's a training. But when it comes to education, it's a transformation of mind. You're going to see yourself as somebody who is thinking differently, who acts and interacts more effectively. And that's the kind of thing you want to keep in mind, that it's a very personal achievement. And another thing is, once you go get a degree, when you are head of a household, and if you have kids or family members and others, they look up to you. They will also see that you have achieved something, and it becomes a motivation for them to go and do what they need to advance their education. Online learning has grown up, because of 100% schedule flexibility. So, as you know, learning is around the clock. It's not something that you can go to and sit somewhere for a couple of hours and then you leave and it ends. It's around the clock learning. And that's why the online is so effective. You can email your faculty member at any time. In fact, I was talking to one of the faculty member. He said, he gets emails from his students at odd hours of evening, and he answers them anytime that he gets it because he thinks there's urgency for him to respond. So that tells you, the learning has become 24/7, and your interaction with the faculty is very important, and that's why the FCU has made it accessible for you to be able to do that. These days, learning happens from anywhere. You can be in the car, you can be, somewhere in a coffee place, or you can be at home at night, or one night you have a sleepless night and you say, what I'm going to do? Well, let me go and see what's going on with the school work, and then you can log in and do your work at any time, at any place. You don't have to stop what you're doing. So there's no career interruption. You don't have to say, oh my God, I got to stop doing what I'm doing and going to college and university, which most colleges and universities still require that, but with Florida Coastal University, you don't have that interruption. Global cohort access, your classmates are professional. Let me give you an example. Let's say each of you bring about 10 years of experience on an average, right? And there's 20 of you in the classroom. That's 200 years of experience in one place at one time. So what we do with that, the faculty role or the instructor's role become facilitating that information to come out, because your experience counts as part of the learning. It's not something that we're just going to park it on the side. Your experience is going to be part of the learning. And then the faculty and instructors introduce new concepts and theories into it, and it becomes a very powerful learning environment. And you'll be amazed how much of that, because in the old schooling, you were supposed to just sit down and listen to the instructor to tell you how things are going to be. Today, you are an active learner. You'll be participating with your instructor, and they want to ask you for your experiences, what you have learned at the workplace or wherever you have been, even in your life. Then they're going to say, okay, look at this idea, for instance, going to fit this idea going to fit that. And you're going to see a tremendous connection between your experience and what's in the books. And then the employer acceptance growing, the online degree is no longer something on the sideline. I think the COVID, experience, as horrible as it was and a lot of lives affected, one thing that's changed was the learning, that we all moved online overnight, from kindergarten all the way to college. And everybody realized that the learning can happen online. And Florida Coastal University is a good example of that. It's a fully online program. And then what we are licensed by the Florida Commission for Independent Education, and we are 100% online. It is specifically built for working adults. And let me explain that what it means. Basically, you are the center of the universe once you join Florida Coastal University, because we understand you bring all kinds of responsibilities into the classroom, and we would like to really help you the best we can to make sure that you get a good education, and you can then use that education to advance your careers and your personal lives. global learner community. You're going to join people from all over the world to learn. And we are in the process of accreditation. Let me explain that and what does that mean. We are fully licensed to operate as a university in the United States, but we need to also get accreditation, and that takes a little longer time. And so we are pursuing that, and we will be able to do it. And once that accreditation happens, then we will inform you about it. What makes FCU different? We have our faculty are practitioners. You know, this is not somebody that has only learned from the book and coming to teach you about things that is from the book. They have been in the field of their expertise, and whatever they have done in their lives, now they're bringing it with additional to their educational background and the doctorates that they have, and they're going to basically share that information with you. So you're not talking to a faculty member that is only from the book, but they are a practitioner. At the same time, they're going to be teaching. They teach at the Florida Coastal University. We have made sure that, as I said, you are the center of the universe. You know, we use a methodology called andragogy-based curriculum. And let me explain that. Most of the education, and I'm one of them, and you are most probably, we went to college or even throughout our education from K to 12, kindergarten to high school. We were under a curriculum called pedagogy. The word pedagogy comes from Greek word teaching kids. You know, so we were supposed to sit in the classroom, just listen to the teacher, and whatever he or she said, we said yes, 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 and we wrote it down, and then we basically came back and did the exam or something, and then we got a grade, right? Andragogy comes andro in the Greek word means adult, so it's an adult learning based curriculum. In that case, you're going to be part of the learning process that I explained. You're going to be engaged. We're going to ask you, like, what did you learn when you were working as such and such, you know, for 10 years, 15 years? And you're going to say, I did X, Y, Z. Then the faculty member comes and says, here's some ideas and theories and concepts that might help you to understand what you did and how it fits into the new environment that we are in. So that's the adult learner model versus the pedagogy that you were just sitting back and listening and that was it and taking notes. Very much flexible, you know, it's fully asynchronous, no fixed class times, your time zone, your schedule. Now, occasionally you might meet with your faculty member, but it's going to be arrangements made between you and faculty and other members of the class, you know. And then, of course, you're going to invest, and we're going to make sure that your investment is appropriate. And that's why we have created a very competitive tuition. You can compare and contrast this to other universities and colleges, and you're going to see that, in fact, Florida Coastal University has created a very, very attractive opportunity for you to go back to college and earn a degree. Academic pathways, the opportunities for you exist. You can earn a bachelor's degree, and it's in business administration and computer science. You can do master's in business and MS in computer science, and the Master of Education that gives you a chance to get into the field of like education, K through 12 or even college. And on the doctoral level, you have the Doctor of Business Administration, Doctor of Computer Science, and Doctor of Education. So these are all in-demand degrees, and we purposely created this. And they have, by the way, concentrations that, for instance, with the Master in Computer Science, you might specialize in artificial intelligence. Or with the Master of Business Administration, you might pick and choose a concentration. And then in terms of who FCU is built for, business professionals, if you are doing something on your own, like manager, analyst, consultant, tech professionals, if you're in the field of developer, engineering, IT leader, or anything that you're doing in the technology. If you are in healthcare business, for instance, working in hospitals or urgent cares and places like that, if you get a degree, then it will definitely help you with moving into a leadership position. If you already have a professional degree, for instance, as a nurse, educator, if you're in any kind of educational environment, And then, if of course, if you have your own business or if you want to build a business, you will learn, as I suggested, how to go about building a business. And then the career switcher, in case you want to switch from one industry to another. For instance, you have been in education for many years, now you want to move into professional business, then doctoral business administration or master of business administration would be a good way to go. Meet career people that want to advance their careers. In that case, you might be in a position that you have been there for I don't know, 10, 15 years, and other people come with degree and they get advancement. But then with you getting a degree, then you will be in a position to compete effectively. And of course, the international, pursuing a U.S. Degree, I think will add to your portfolio of credentials that you can show around the world. And of course, still U.S. leads in terms of business and computer science, when it comes to opportunities in education. So industry credentials that we have in your tech, if you join any of the computer science degrees, we have arrangements with Cisco, Networking Academy, with IBM partnership, and we have CompTIA certificate alignment and Microsoft technology credentials. So that will be part of your overall learning. Career capabilities, you can see it on the screen. Again, strategic leadership, cross-cultural. I think we covered this, so you can see it on the screen yourself. And then the opportunity, again, developing professional networking, because you're going to meet a lot of people through your interaction, and those can lead to all kinds of opportunities. So I talked about competitive tuition, flexible payment options. We can make that arrangements for you if you would like to pay your tuition in a kind of an installment. And then also there are scholarship opportunities. You might be able to talk to your individuals that are working with you to get you for admissions. They might be able to see what your situation is and ask for additional financial help. Now, in terms of how you go about it, apply for online. Everything is online. You can go in there and fill out the application, and you immediately get a response, and somebody will reach out to you to take you through the process of what's required of you submitting all your document. Then there's the document reviews. We look at your transcripts and all kind of stuff that you're going to be submitting to us. And we usually respond to you between 5 to 7 days in terms of your acceptance. Then there's the scholarship assessment. If you have asked for additional help, financial help, then that would be looked at. And if you qualify, we certainly will consider that. And then the admission decision is made, and of course you enroll, and the classes starts. I meet with the students that are enrolled currently, and I meet once a month. We talk about what they have been able to kind of access and learn. But at the same time, if anything comes up, we find out from them what needs to be tweaked or adjusted, and we do that. And also we meet with the faculty on an ongoing basis and make sure that whatever they suggest in terms of what they have heard from the students, it would be adjusted quickly. So these days, respond is very important. So we have to be fast and quick and be able to get to you. So we don't want you to waste your time of trying to figure it out. Okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? We provide all the support needed so you can do what you need to do, which is learning. And then the professional building 2030 leadership teams are studying right now the compounding returns that happens. Competition is accelerating. I don't have to tell you, you can notice that everywhere. And the flexibility. One thing I've noticed, with we as an adult, everything we put it off. We say, oh, we're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to do it tomorrow. But what happens, life gets more complicated every day. So with postponing things, I don't feel that things will be easier. It's going to get much difficult, for instance, if you decide to go to school in 5 years from today. So that's a decision you have to make and implement quickly. And then, of course, the cohort group, that you will be among other learners and will be able to interact with them quite a bit and learn from others as well. As I said, you're bringing a lot of experiences to classroom, and you're going to learn from one another as much as you learn from the instructors. Now I'm going to turn it over to any questions or comments you might have. And it's really my pleasure to be here today to engage with you in this conversation.
Thank you, Alex, for that wonderful presentation. That was really informative and engaging, but still talking about the study pedagogy, like we have been following the same. You were talking and we were just listening.
Mhm,
एलेक्सजीले
mhm.
बोली नै रहनु भएको थियो, हामी सुनि नै रहेको थियौँ. We are doing the same thing. Let's make it
Right.
interactive.
Exactly. And that's the point of it. It will be a great way to go. In fact, you're absolutely right. What I did right now, it was just listening and no interaction, right?
Just nodding the
But
heads.
yeah, but in a real classroom, in an andragogy system, every time it will be an opportunity. I'm going to ask you, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What is the change speeding as much as I'm telling you? But you might come back and say, no, what are you talking about? Also the usefulness of the information. When I present something to you, and you go to class, your work tomorrow, and you see if it can be used, and then you come back to classroom and say, you know what, that idea you presented, I went to a workplace or I tried it with somebody and it didn't work as best as you suggested. So that's the andragogy. But thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, let's engage in the conversation and tell me what you think.
Surely, we would like to take a questions. केही क्वेसन्स तपाईँहरूलाई केही जिज्ञासा छ भने please do ask us, and we really want to hear from you guys, because what I'm saying, you guys are meat professionals. Bhogendra ji, he is kind of senior between all among all of us, so you all bring some kind of experience with you, some learnings with you. We would like to hear from you. तपाईँहरूको एक्सपिरियन्स, तपाईँहरू सबैजना डिफ्रेन्ट एजुकेसनल ब्याकग्राउन्डबाट आउनु भएको छ, वर्किङ प्रोफेसन सबैको डिफ्रेन्ट छ. We would like to hear from you guys. If any questions, experiences, why are you willing to do this doctorate? Obviously, we would like to hear that first.
Thank you, Biswasji. I'm 61 now, uh, and I'm a retired government official,
Okay.
and now working as a student admission section 81 college. That is a different one. Like we are teaching for trekking tour guide, trekking guide, a mountain guide, something like that. But I just want to learn how to build up my skills if I want to continue further. That is my question first. And the second, what will be the scholarship criteria if I ask for one or two? And is there any other skill that I will be able to join or I mean acceptance to the learning platform? These three are my questions at this moment. Thank you. Did you hear me?
Yes, yes. Landon, you're a good example of somebody who's going back to school. 61 years old, and you're shifting a little bit in terms of your career. So that itself is a good indication of the times have changed. That you feel like I need to go and learn something new and different. Now, in terms of criteria for a scholarship, once you apply, it would be admission because they're going to ask you for some information, about like your background, what you have done in the past, and then of course your application and all that. And based on your information provided, then they will come back to you and say if you are qualified for a scholarship or not and how much. But we will not be able to tell that unless we collect information from you, so we be able to assess it and let you know. Now, in terms of you, it looks like you're shifting a career, right? You worked for government for all these years. Now you're trying to do something different. And I think the degree will do that because you're going to learn some new skills and new knowledge that's going to help you to say, okay, I'm going to shift from this to that. In fact, it might even open up some other doors because once you're in the classroom, you're going to learn from others like yourself that have been in the workforce for a long time, and they will be able to come back and kind of see, and you want to learn from them too. They're going to tell you, well, listen, I was like 50-year-old and I did this change in my life. And you're going to say, well, if he can do it, why cannot I? So it's those kind of things that you're going to be able to do with coming to college at this time. And you will see a major difference in terms of your thinking, how you go about doing things.
Alex, let me explain more about the scholarship. भोगेन्द्र जी, यस्तो छ, क्राइटेरिया भन्नाले हामी एकाडेमिक पार्टलाई मात्रै हेर्दैनौँ. तपाईँले आज 60 वर्ष हुँदाखेरि 20 या 30 वर्षको एक्सपिरियन्स पनि लिँदै आउनु भएको छ है। सो हामीले तपाईँले ब्याकग्राउन्ड एसेसमेन्टबाट पनि केही स्कलरसिपहरू अभियसली हामी दिनेछौँ। सो एकाडेमिक पार्टमा मात्रै नजाउँ, तपाईँको लर्निङ्स है, क्लासमा हुँदाखेरि तपाईँको 20 वर्ष त्यो सरकारी जागिर गर्दाखेरि एक्सपिरियन्स द्याट माइट बी युजफुल टु मेनी अफ अस। तपाईँले जिन्दगीमा कति कुरा देख्नु भएको छ, कति कुरा भोग्नु भएको छ, द्याट माइट बी लर्निङ फर सम वान है। सो त्यो कुराले पनि एसेसमेन्टमा राखेर वी क्यान गिभ यु सम जेनरस स्कलरसिप अभियसली। लर्निङको पार्टमा अब कस्तो छ
I would
भन्दाखेरि
like to stop you here.
आस्यो
I'm from very different field that I work for the wildlife conservation for 31 years. So I hope this won't be helpful with all these people here today.
obviously not to everyone, but that might be a point of interest for someone.
Thank you.
Any other?
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Of course, my pleasure. Yeah, it's an open mic. Any questions, anything you'd like to find out,
Anyone don't want to speak? We have our chat box open for you. You can just type your question.
yeah. But if I did such a great job that you don't need to ask any questions, that's another one.
Can I speak for a minute?
Yes, sure,
Yes, of
Grishma.
course, please. Grishma.
So, hello everyone, I'm Grishma. So, Mr. Alex, I would like to know that is there any working criteria for this DBA program, or would you suggest like certain working years would be preferable before we start this program? And also, is there any learning portal through which we will get the resources, or the learnings would be done through via Google Meet and or a platform like this? And another is, in your university, is it totally research-based, or it is more focused on the practicality and sessions like this, or interactive sessions?
Very good questions. And let me answer your last question first. It is all practical. Some research aspects are included, and your faculty will be helping. For instance, you might come back and say, I'm interested to do a research on certain things, So you will be able to work with your faculty to target certain areas of new research if you like. But the information you're going to get going to be practical to make a difference in your life. And as I indicated, so let's say you come to a class, and by the way, there's a learning management system that you're going to be logging in. You're going to have a username and a password. You log in there. Of course, there will be, for instance, one of my faculty just told me yesterday, that one of the students took an initiative and they created a WhatsApp group, because they wanted to have a faster interaction. So WhatsApp group is not part of the learning management system, but that's in parallel to the management learning system. So not only are you going to interact in the management learning system, which is the platform that you will be logging in, but also in terms of your experience, it doesn't matter what you experience, because see, regardless if you have worked like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or even 30 years, it doesn't matter, because the fact is that you have had those learning experiences and you're going to bring that to the classroom, Now, if you have worked for 3 years and you come to a classroom and somebody like Ugandra comes in with 60 years of experience, then you're going to share your 3 years and he's going to share his 60 years, and you're going to see a kind of a combination of both. And I'm even including our early years of experience, because sometimes our childhood, the learning that happens during the childhood, we don't give as much credit, but that becomes part of the learning as well. So all of those things become a very, very good combination of learning and part of your whole classroom experience and the instructors. So, and thank you for that questions, because they're very relevant and important.
ग्रीष्मा चाहिँ यसो हुन्छ, यु विल गेट एन युनिभर्सिटीको पोर्टलबाटै तपाईँले पाउनुहुन्छ। सो तपाईँले त्यहाँबाट तपाईँको लर्निङ मेटेरियल्स, तपाईँको एसाइनमेन्ट्स, सबै कुरा त्यहीँबाट टाइमली म्यानरमा सबै कुरा त्यहाँबाट पाउनुहुन्छ, वान थिङ। एन्ड टकिङ अबाउट रिसर्च बेस्ड अर प्र्याक्टिकल, डिबिए इज अ प्र्याक्टिकल कोर्स एक्चुली। अदरवाइज यु हेभ बिन डुइङ पिएचडी अभियसली। तपाईँलाई थ्योरिटिकल या रिसर्च बेसमा जानु छ भने, सो डिबिए इज अ लाइक प्र्याक्टिकल बेस्ड लर्निङ. सो यु विल बी टेकिङ योर डेली लाइफ एक्सपिरियन्सेस इन द करिकुलम एन्ड लर्न फ्रम द्याट ओन्ली. किन तपाईँको जबमा पाइराख्ने कुराहरू यु नो द च्यालेन्जेस, यु नो द प्रोज एन्ड कन्स अफ द्याट पार्ट है. सो हामीले त्यसैबाट सिक्दै जाने हो. सो दिस इज टोटली प्र्याक्टिकल बेस्ड लर्निङ. ग्रीष्मा.
So at the end त्यो पेपर चाहिँ हामीले सबमिट गर्नु चाहिँ पर्दैन, लाइक अदर पिएचडी
नट एक्चुअली लाइक द्याट, बट तपाईँको लास्ट इयरमा एउटा डिजर्टेसन छ. सो तपाईँले 2-3 वर्षसम्म गरेर अभियसली इफ यु वान्ट अ डक्टरेट एउटा सानो रिसर्च पेपर त आवश्यक पर्छ.
हुन्छ, किनकि अब इट माइट टेक अ लङ्गर टाइम होइन, मान्छेहरू डेडिकेट भएरै पढिरहेको हुन्छ. सो हामी वर्क गरी पनि पढ्नेहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यो पेपर लेख्नु पर्ने हुन्छ कि हुन्न भनेर चाहिँ सोध्नु थियो. लेख्न चाहिँ
डिजर्टेसन आई गेस तपाईँले करिकुलम पाउनु भएको छ भने यु माइट ह्याभ समथिङ अराउन्ड 10-20 क्रेडिटको एउटा डिजर्टेसन चाहिँ छ. सो यु क्यान जस्ट चुज द रिसर्च टपिक अन बेस्ड अन यर वर्क. तपाईँले आफ्नै बारेमा लेख्नुहोस्, द्याट विल बी बेटर. भोगेन्द्रजी, राहुलजी सरी, भोगेन्द्रजीको मैले एन्सर गरिहालेँ. हाउ फास्ट भन्ने कुरा तपाईँको कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि कोर्स डिबिए 3 वर्षको प्रोग्राम हो. सो इट विल टेक द्याट सर्टेन टाइम. अब तपाईँको एसाइनमेन्ट्स, लर्निङको पार्टहरू कतिपय रेकर्डेड सेसन्स हुन्छ. यु क्यान डु इट अन यर ओन. तपाईँसँग कतिको एभाइबिलिटी छ, तपाईँको टाइम कति छ, त्यही अनुसारले तपाईँले छिटो गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ. राहुलजी प्लिज.
हजुर नमस्ते. मेरो क्वेसन चाहिँ के छ भन्दा यो हाम्रो असेसमेन्ट चाहिँ कसरी हुन्छ? जस्तै एउटा मोडल अब कम्प्लिट गर्ने बेलामा चाहिँ हामीले के गर्नुपर्छ? जस्तै अब टर्म पेपर्स लेख्नुपर्छ अथवा केस स्टडिज गर्नुपर्ने. जस्तै लास्टमा डिजर्टेसन भन्नुभयो, तर डिजर्टेसन सँगसँगै तपाईँले जस्तै कुनै अरू असाइनमेन्ट्सहरू पनि गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ कि चाहिँ एउटा सेमेस्टर हाम्रो सघाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो सेमेस्टर कम्प्लिट गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले के मतलब बुझाउनु पर्छ? अब क्लासेसहरू कसरी कन्डक्ट हुन्छ त्यो पनि चाहिँ मलाई बुझ्नु मन थियो.
ओके, म सायद एलेक्सजीलाई नै यो क्वेसन गर्छु, किन उहाँले यो एन्सर अझै बेटर एन्सर हुन्छ. एलेक्सजी, hi Alex. Rahul wants to know about the assessments, like how he will be assessed, what kind of learnings or what kind of papers, examinations he need to submit to pass for the any years or semesters throughout this DBA program.
Right. So what happens, you will get assignments from the faculty members, right, in the learning management system. And so you're going to, the way it works, there are lessons that you're going to be basically studying on your own, right? But you might have questions and comments. So you might ask the faculty about, like, I learned about this thing, but I have a question about that, right? Because let's say you're introduced to something and you're not sure about it or you don't understand it that well, so you ask the faculty. And then the faculty members will give you assignments. You know, you're going to complete certain papers. And then your papers will be submitted through learning management system, and then they will grade it and come back to you. You're also going to have certain sessions with the faculty. You know, you can do individual meetings, or there will be sometimes, as I said, you know, one student's decided to have WhatsApp group. And that's where the joint or common questions will be posted. We have run into this situation, or we don't understand this concept, or there's something that you have introduced and it's not clear. And they will be able to answer all those questions. But in terms of actual assignments, you will get assignments. You will be graded on those. And at the end of this semester, you will get a grade for the work that you have done. And that's part of the whole, of course, learning, right? But the difference is that you're making a contribution as well. You know, you're engaging in the process of learning rather than just for you to learn something and then just, read something and then come back and put it on the paper and give it to the faculty. So there will be a lot of give and take going back and forth. So you will be a combined learning, if you will, among yourselves as well as the faculty.
Thank you so much. I've got one more thing to ask.
Of course, please.
So when we write our dissertation, at that time we might be using any of the methodologies. You know, we might be using the qualitative approach or quantitative, maybe mixed approach. So will the university provide us any special classes for that?
Of course, as I said, the support system is very important, right? Now, to your point about dissertation, and that's where you're going to make a contribution. You might have an idea all your life, but you haven't had a chance to really kind of run it by somebody else who's an expert and see the validity of it. So that's number one. So in terms of, and that's why I said that your new ideas that you have, you're going to bounce it against faculty. And again, because the faculty also are practitioners and they're not coming just from the book, in fact, one example of this will be, and it's a famous academic example, the person who started the American Express, the delivery system. Federal Express. He wrote his ideas in a paper and gave it to his faculty, and I got a grade of C minus. But he went about starting the Federal Express, and as you know, now it's a worldwide company and very successful. That gives you an example how the pedagogy works, because pedagogy meant that the faculty only was looking at the idea based on what he knew from the books, right? So that's the difference with the practitioner faculty, that somebody has been in the field of study, actual field of practicing their studies. They will be able to give you better feedback than somebody who's only from the book, So that's what, to your point about your dissertation, of course, you need to come up with the idea, you need to present it, but at the same time, the support system will be in there to help you to do the research that you need to do and all kind of information that you need. By the way, we have one of the most effective library systems in any university that I have been. You're going to have access to a lot of information. Another thing we are doing, and I've seen this in a lot of the universities and colleges right now, they are trying to stop people of using AI, and that's such a primitive idea, because AI has to be part of the learning. Now, the way we do it, I'm not saying go cut and paste, put something in the AI and give you the answer and then you copy and paste it, because then you're cheating yourself, So we will use the AI to prepare you to go to a workplace and do more effective, not to just because AI is there and you're going to use it, but many universities and colleges refusing, to let the AI to be used, again, because of that old concept of cheating. The way we grew up, at least when I went to school, they said, don't look at your right or left. You got to just focus on your own studies, right? The times have changed. If I don't ask you, if we were like a group of workers and we were working together, I'm going to ask Grisham and you and Bogandra and everyone else. I'm saying, what do you think? And by the way, I've taught adults. It's really interesting. I give assignments on an individual basis, and they couldn't answer. But once I put them together, the same problem, they came with the solution. So that shows the power of group learning and how you'll be able to look at others and then come up with the ideas that will be much more effective for the dissertation that you're going to do, And those are the differences that we bring to the picture.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course,
Any other questions? And by the way, Richa, the course is totally online, so you can just do your DBA, DBC, computer science, or doctorate in education only from Nepal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the important thing, right? You can't just quit and go somewhere to do studies, and this is like the convenience of your home or wherever you are, you'll be able to log in and study. I mean, just give you an example. I was a dean of a school in a number of places. Back then, before COVID, I used to beg the faculty to come and teach online, and they wouldn't do it. They would say, oh, no, we have to go to classroom. COVID happened. Now, of course, I'm talking about traditional institution. You go ask a faculty, you say, come and teach in the classroom. They say, no, I like to teach from home, because they see the convenience, of engaging with the students from home than like coming to class 3 times a week and going and being in the classroom. So the online has created a tremendous convenience for everybody, including instructors as well as yourself. But one thing has become very important, the speed of change and acceleration that happened and the speed of response. I mean, today, if you email me today in the morning, you expect a response, within a few hours, not 2-3 days, And in fact, there's a book, Future Shock, which was written. The name of the author going to come to me. Tafler. He wrote the book in 1980s and called it Future Shock. And one of the things that stuck with me from that book was that how, as human beings, the speed of change has accelerated. It took about 10,000 years for us going from living in caves and coming and starting cultivating the land as agricultural people. And I'm talking about the whole human race. Then it took about 1,000 years for us to go from the agricultural environment to industrial revolution, right? Then this industrial revolution happened in late 1800s and early 1900s. And it took about 230 to 250 years to advance, to the maximum. Then came up the age of information, right? And that was in 1930s. From that point on, the age of information, which is called, because there was the industrial revolution, industrial age of industrialization, agriculture, and before that, in the caves. Now, the speed of change has accelerated beyond our imagination, right? So, and we have to go along with that change. But again, the human mind is not prepared to do that, if you will. So there are certain skills that goes with that. And that's why I was suggesting the critical thinking, how important that is, right? Because you have to be able to adjust your own mind into this speed, acceleration, and the speed of things that happens, and how you're going to be able to function in that environment. Okay, the question, one of the questions was how fast one can finish. It really depends on you. If you're talking about a doctorate, I think it will take about 2 to 3 years, but depends on how many courses you take. If you can manage it, and that's another thing with the adults. I've seen people have different kind of situations, So in that case, then you have to adjust your learning to what you're doing. If you can speed it up, you speed it up. If you have to slow down, you can slow down. And that's another good thing with the FCU, because you can work with your faculty member and adjust your learning to what's going on, instead of like saying you have to do this, you have to do that. So you can speed up and slow down based on your circumstances. And another question was like, there are other universities, of course there are, and they have a different fee structure. That's something that you can do, or you can ask one of your admission people to find out about the other schools and what they charge. But I know for a fact that our tuition is one of the most reasonable one in the marketplace. And those questions were posted to the
yeah, I guess that's all.
Well, thank you so much. Again, please feel free to email us, reach out to us, any additional question, because sometimes we leave the sessions and we have a ton of other questions that come to our mind.
Alex,
Feel
there
free
is a
to reach
question
out to us.
from Grishma. Will there be a convocation?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a question about convocation. Yes, it will be. We will try to do it online. Even we are thinking about having it in person if we have to do it. And I've done many of those. But that's something that we definitely will have, because I know that accomplishment itself is very important, especially for adults, for you to get acknowledged for work you have done, and we will have that for sure. All right. Well, nice meeting you all. I know not all of you turned the camera on, but that's okay, But those of you did, I'm glad to meet you, and hopefully we will see you in the classroom. All right.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for a wonderful time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.